The sun sits high in the sky. A lone rider crosses a field of green, moving closer toward us. It is Link, the Hyrulean hero. His goal is a castle in the valley below. Inside the castle, Link moves slowly, with trepidation, as he approaches the magical artifacts at the end of the Great Hall. 3 magical triangles, the Triforces of power, wisdom, and courage. The Triforces lift off their pedestals where they rest. Link is lifted off the ground, and the world around him swirls, becoming indistinct. Then suddenly, Link is gone, whisked off on his next adventure. This is Legendary Adventures, a Legend of Zelda playthrough podcast. This week we're beginning our journey through Oracle of Seasons. This game is of course one of a pair, a duology of games that are both prequel and sequel to each other. We've already completed Oracle of Ages, meaning we're starting Oracle of Seasons as a linked game. In order to link the games, we have to enter a password we got at the end of Oracle of Ages. The passwords are lengthy, and you have to be sure you're interpreting the symbols correctly. A lowercase t can look a lot like a cross when there are symbols like hearts, spades, clubs, diamonds, plus, minus, arrows, and more included alongside the letters and numbers. After inputting the password, we notice that Link looks a little different on the file select screen. He's holding the Rod of Seasons and has an extra heart. We select the game, and we begin. In a dark lair, a blue flame burns. The Gerudo witches Kotake and Koume cackle with glee. Because of the actions of Varen, Sorceress of Shadows, in the land of Labrynna, the flame of sorrow burns. The pair now plan to light the flames of destruction and despair to bring about the return of the evil king. The Triforce urges Link to accept its quest. Link lands on a grassy piece of earth near a lake. A dancer named Din finds him unconscious. Sometime later, Link awakens on the edge of a camp. The camp appears to be occupied by a troupe of traveling performers. But we recognize Princess Zelda's nurse, Impa. She recognizes Link, and explains that Din is actually the Oracle of Seasons. The dance troupe traveling with Din are actually Hyrulean soldiers in disguise. Their mission is to get Din safely to Hyrule before anything happens to her, like what happened with Nehru in Labrynna. Din asks Link to dance. As they dance, Din notices a Triforce symbol on Link's hand, indicating that he is in fact a Hyrulean hero. Din says that if she is to become a target like Nehru, she refuses to fall. Just then, a storm hits the camp. Lightning strikes the ground. A whirlwind appears, blowing the disguised soldiers of Hyrule away. Inside the whirlwind is Onyx, the General of Darkness. He too recognizes Link, and promises that he won't fall as easily as Varen. He knocks Link aside and kidnaps Din. Onyx's plan is to throw the seasons into chaos, and to bring about the death of all living things in the land of Holodrum. To do that, he must kidnap Din and sink the Temple of Seasons into the earth. We saw him take Din, and in a callback to A Link to the Past, we see him trap her in a crystal. We then see a cutscene showing the Temple of Seasons sinking into the earth. Link awakens in a grass field covered in the frost of winter. Impa is there. She notes that as a hero, Link always comes in a time of need. And as with Labrynna, this is truly a time of need within the land of Holodrum. She asks Link to rescue Din, and points him to the Maku Tree in Horon Village to get help. This is the point where the game truly begins. If it wasn't clear already, by linking the game with Oracle of Ages, there were a number of changes to the story versus starting the game out without a link. The characters all know who Link is, and they refer to the events in Labrynna. But there are gameplay changes as well. I noted earlier that Link has an extra heart. We start the game with 4 instead of 3. We also meet a number of characters and experience some story beats that we would otherwise not experience in an unlinked game. Horon Village is large and spread out. When I entered the village, it was summer. The season the village's experience will change at random every time that we enter it. It features 7 buildings, including the home for the know-it-all birds to help new players, and the home of Blossom and Bippin. They relocated to Horon Village following our adventure in Labrina. There is more of their quest that we'll experience in this game, but it took me a while to get it going again. Their son, who I named Stem, grew up to be a very shy boy for me. He avoids Link at all costs. We can also find a shop and Vasu Jewelers, which should be familiar from our adventure through Labrina. A girl near the entrance of the village points Link east to find the Maku Tree. On the way to the tree, I came across the home of Mayor Rule. He is obsessed with Gasha seeds and gives us one to plant outside his home. South and east from the mayor's home, we find the gates to the Maku Tree. We are told to show courage to gain passage. I figured it had something to do with the sword, and I could remember from my previous playthrough that I found a sword in a cave west of the village. I headed that way, but as soon as I exited the village and came face to face with an Octorok, I realized that no one in the game had pointed me there. So, I opened my menu and discovered that I already had a sword. Surprise! There's another difference of a linked game. I returned to the gate and slashed to open it. Link thrusts his sword into the air and the gate opens. The Maku Tree shares a name and function with the Maku Tree that we met in Labrina and Oracle of Ages, but this is not the same tree. The Maku Tree of Horon Village seems to be older and sleepier. We wake him by popping a massive snot bubble that protrudes from his nose as he snores. The Maku Tree is shocked to learn that Din has been kidnapped and the Temple of Seasons has disappeared. He is supposed to be the protector of Din and laments the way that he's withered. The Maku Tree asks Link to rescue Din. He can sense that Onyx has made his base on a northern peak in Holodrum, and says in order to reach him we must first collect the 8 essences of nature. The Maku Tree points us to a giant root on a lake to the north to find the first essence, and grants us a key to the dungeon. Heading north of the village, we travel across 4 screens and reach the location where we first woke at the edge of Din's camp. We cut through some bushes and cross a bridge to reach a small island. In the center is a massive, gnarled clump of roots. A rock with a keyhole is in the upper right corner. We use the key, and the massive root rises from the ground, looking more like a dead tree in appearance with a door inside the trunk. If you've played the original Legend of Zelda, this should look familiar. The lake, the bridge, the island, and the dungeon entrance are all intended to bring to mind the very first dungeon in the very first game, and we'll find even more connections to that dungeon as we head inside. The dungeon music is longer than any of the dungeon themes we heard in Oracle of Ages. It has a real mysterious vibe to it, and it's split into 2 distinct parts. The first part features an 8-note descending phrase that's repeated 4 times. After each time the phrase is played, there is a few staccato notes. It then moves into a deeper descending line that is repeated twice with a different ending sting each time before looping over. The whole theme lasts about 35 seconds before starting over, and I frankly dig it. The dungeon itself spans only a single floor. It's shaped like an eagle, or rather very closely to Level 1 the eagle from the original game. It's not an exact match. Level 1 had 3 rooms at the bottom to form the feet of the eagle. There are no feet to the Gnarled Root dungeon. Level 1 also featured 2 rooms on the tip of the right wing of the dungeon, making it asymmetrical. Those rooms are absent from the Gnarled Root. And the challenges that we find within each dungeon are for the most part distinct. Speaking to IGN in 1999, producer Yoshiki Okamoto described the focus of Oracle of Seasons as action, and the focus of Oracle of Ages as puzzles. We can see that shift in focus between the 2 games starting right here with the very first dungeon. There are many more combat challenges compared to Oracle of Ages. Now that doesn't mean there aren't puzzles to solve, there are, but the increase in combat is felt pretty much right from the start. We'll also notice that, like in Oracle of Ages, the dungeon rooms are all very large. We can't see the rooms all at once. We have to move around and scroll the screen to survey the room. It can lead to awkward moments, as there are times where we'll clear a room challenge, hear the secret jingle, and not be able to see the change that we effected. Was it a door opening? Was it a chest appearing? It's not too big an issue, but it is noticeable. From the entrance, we are forced north. We find a room with doors in each direction. The door to the west is locked. The doors to the north and east are closed with shutters. There are 4 blocks in a square shape near the center of the room. Pushing the block on the upper right opens the shuttered doors. I went right and cleared a room of skeletal Stalfos enemies to claim a key. The path forward is blocked by another door that obviously requires 2 torches to be lit in order to open it. So we backtrack. If we try the north door, we'll find an old man who offers an obvious hint about lighting unlit torches. But the inclusion of a hint-giving old man within a dungeon is a callback to the original game. Through the locked door on the left, we can enter the west wing. In the west wing, we get the map by clearing a room of Stalfos. We also find a minecart. In the same room where we first find that minecart, there's another room locked by unlit torches. We take the minecart north. At the end of the line, we can head into the left tip of the wing for an optional Gasha seed. We'll have to deal with moblins who throw boomerangs, much like the Goria in the original game, and push a block while avoiding a spike trap in order to get it. The path forward sees us going up to a raised area above the minecart track to flip a rail switch, and to open a chest to get the compass. With the switch flipped, the minecart takes us east. We pass by a treasure chest on the way and we'll have to backtrack on foot to pick it up. It contains bombs. Further east, we navigate through a block pathway and around a spike trap that springs to life when we're in direct line of sight to get a key. I wandered for a bit after getting this key, not entirely sure what to do next. I blame that on the large size of the rooms. But if we head up to the raised area above the minecart tracks and to the center of the dungeon, there is a spot to place a bomb on a cracked wall to make our way forward. We then pass through a block maze filled with blade traps that we can't always see due to the size of the room. Getting through this room takes us to the mini-boss. It's a pair of creatures that, to me, look like minotaurs, but a Nintendo Power guide identified them as strong moblins. One is red, one is blue. They toss a boomerang back and forth between them. I hit the blue moblin multiple times, then managed to hit both with a spin attack that knocked them together. They both died following that hit. I'm not sure if it's because they had somehow taken enough damage at that point, or if it was the action of knocking them together that did them in. They leave behind a ferry and a portal, and in a twist, this portal does not take us back to the entrance, but to the room where we first found the minecart. We head west out of the mini-boss room into the beak, and we find a diamond pattern of blocks surrounding a staircase. Another clear reference to the first game. We found the dungeon item in level 1, the eagle, in a room that was just like this. We push a block on the left side up and go down a set of stairs to a side-scrolling area. And sure enough, it's laid out just like the item holding side-scrolling areas from that first game. There's a long staircase on the left and a short one on the right, leading to an alcove with the dungeon item. It's the Seed Satchel! As with Oracle of Ages, the Seed Satchel is packed with Ember Seeds. We use the mini-boss portal to return to the first minecart room and light the 2 torches there to unlock a door. We defeat 3 boomerang-throwing moblins to claim the boss key. Now we can head back to the room where we got our very first key. We light the torches there, and make our way through a block maze filled with wall masters in order to reach the boss door. One wall master did manage to grab me, sending me back to the entrance, but it's not a long trip to get back to the boss door, so I didn't find it too annoying. The boss should look familiar. It's Aquamentus, the very first boss from the original Legend of Zelda. In that game, this single-horned dragon stood on one side of the room and shot fireballs, 3 at a time traveling in parallel to each other. This time, Aquamentus moves much more. It still fires 3 fireballs, but it also has a charging attack, and I believe it can fly. Aquamentus fell quickly as I slashed away. I lost 1 heart in the battle. When Aquamentus falls, it leaves behind a heart container. We can choose to collect it, and then move on to collect the first essence. It's the fertile soil. We are told that seeds scattered across nature are nourished by this soil. After exiting the dungeon, we are contacted by the Maku Tree. It tells us some of the soil we collected came to it, giving it strength. The Maku Tree will receive part of every essence we collect, and will grow throughout the game because of it. The Maku Tree tells us that it saw the Temple of Seasons in a strange land it does not know. But he tells us that we will get an item that will be useful to us there. We'll find the temple next week. Thanks for listening to this episode of Legendary Adventures Podcast. If you want to follow along, please subscribe. And a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed already. You are truly awesome. I am Paul Riley, and I will see you next week.